Good morning, students. How are you all? I hope you all are fine. So, are you ready for this online class? So, today we'll revise the topics which we had learned in the previous online class. They were Chandragupta Maurya, his conquest of Punjab and Magadh. Chandragupta Maurya became the first ruler of the Mauryan dynasty in 305 BC. He defeated Seleucus. The territories of Herat, Kabul, Kandahar were added to the Mauryan Empire. The greatness of Chandragupta Maurya, he ruled from about 25 years. Kautilya guided Chandragupta throughout his life. From Kautilya's Arthashastra, we gain a lot of knowledge about the Mauryan administration and life of the people. Indica of Megasthenes is another source of information for the Mauryas. Then you have learned about two kings, the Bindusara and Ashoka. The Bindusara ruled from 300 to 273 BC. Bindusara continued his father's career of conquest and expansion. Ashoka ruled from 273 to 232 BC. The Kalinga War brought about a complete change in Ashoka's life. From that time onwards, he preached nothing but peace. So today I'll start with the topic, the expansion of Ashoka's empire, or it can be called pan-Indian character of the empire. Expansion of Ashoka's empire describes about the Ashokan inscriptions are reliable guide to the extent of the Mauryan empire. Okay, so Ashokan inscriptions describes about the Mauryan empire. Ashoka's empire extended up to the Hindu Kush mountains in the north west. It included the parts of the Indus Valley, Kashmir, the foothills of Nepal, and the entire Ganga Delta. Means the first thing is related to in the west, northwest, that is Hindu Kush mountain. Second is in the Indus Valley, Kashmir, and the foothills of Nepal in the entire Ganga Delta. Then Tamralipti or modern Tamluk was an important port on the Bengal coast from where ships sailed from Burma, means Myanmar, and Sri Lanka. So it is a seaport. Okay, a name of a seaport in Bengal coast was the Tamralipti. At present it was known as the Tamluk. In the south, the empire extended as far as Mysore. Through the northwest, the Mauryans maintained close relations with the Khotans in the Central Asia. They have close relations with the Khotan. Then Ashoka was on friendly terms with the states of southernmost India, and they were three rulers, the Cholas, the Pandyas, and the Kerala Putras. Ashoka had friendly relationships with these three rulers. He sent missions to neighboring kingdoms in West Asia, Myanmar, and Sri Lanka. The foregoing description suggests the pan-Indian or the subcontinental character of the Mauryan Empire. Ashoka ruled over a large part of the Indian subcontinent. Means he has combined all the small states together and he had organized a pan-Indian character or a continental empire, and that is why he was able to rule on India. There were three main advantages of the pan-Indian character of Ashokan Empire. So what are the three main advantages? The first main advantage is disappearance of the small states, because it resulted in the disappearance of small states as small states were combined with the big empire, so the small states were disappeared. Then second point describes about to face foreign invasion successfully. The rulers who were ruling in that area, they were unable to face foreign invasion successfully. Third point, it facilitated trade and commerce with the frontier towns as well as the Middle Eastern and the Greek cities. So it has made good trading relationships between the Middle East countries and the Greek cities. Now we will see about the Mauryan administration. Do you know anything about the Mauryan administration? The Mauryan administration was vastly elaborated in this chapter. The From Kautilya's Arthashastra, we gain a lot of knowledge about the modern administration and the character of the empire. Ashokan inscriptions tell us about the popular policies of his government. Then we will learn about the king. The king was the supreme head of the state and had military, judicial, and executive powers. So he had three powers in his hand: military, judicial, and executive. He also had the power to enact laws. We learn from Megasthenes that the king was a very hard working official. Okay, king was very hard working official who does not sleep in a daytime but remain in the court the whole day for the purpose of transacting the public business. Kautilya divided the king's day into 8 parts. In how many parts the day was divided? Into 8 parts. It was the king's duty to give close attention to people's welfare. Okay, it is the king's duty to look after the people's welfare, social order, and military action. Then we will see about the Council of Ministers. The king had a council of ministers. They are known as Mantri Parishad to advise him. They were small in number but very influential. At times, the Mantri Parishad could act as a check on the king's power. Means the Mantri Parishad can check the king's orders also. The ministers definitely advise the king in the task of choosing governors. What they advise the king in choosing governors: general of the army, treasurer of the state, chief magistrate, and other high officials. Then the administration has a network of spies also. The modern state made extensive use of the reporters and spies to keep the emperor well informed about his opponents and their activities. Means the spies are there in the kingdom and they used to give information about the opposite kingdom or the enemies. Megasthenes called spies overseers. Kautilya called them the Gudapurushas. Gudapurushas, that is the secret agents. So they are the secret agents. They reported to the king important matters concerning the army, the state, and the conduct of his officers. Now we will see how the kingdom get the revenues. What are the sources of revenues? So Arthashastra provides a detailed information about the sources of revenue, which included the land revenue. The land revenue comes from the mines, and forest revenues from the manufactured goods. Various kinds like tools payable to the using bridges. Okay, tolls payable to the using bridges and roads, fines and license fees were also given to the kingdom. Then Kautilya said the taxes must be reasonable. Why these taxes must be reasonable? Because unjust tax was not taken by the king. The ruler should act like a bee. Okay? The ruler should act like a bee which collects honey without causing damage to the flower. What does it mean? It means that the ruler is not giving any problem to the people. The ruler is not creating any difficulty in giving the taxes to the people. People are easily giving the taxes. So the ruler is collecting the taxes like a bee without damaging the flower or without damaging the things of the people. The land tax varied from 1/3 to the 1/6 of the produce. Means according to the production the land tax was given, paid either in cash or in kind. It is not compulsory to give land tax only in cash, but the peasants, the farmers can give it into the kind, into the crops or other forms. They were considerable expenditure on public works. especially construction of roads, wells, and rest houses. Other major expenditures was a large army and the salaries paid to the officials. So these are the things which were done by the king for the welfare of the people as he was collecting the taxes. Now, provincial administration. Provincial administration describes about the district administration. Next to the emperor ranked the governors or in charges of the provinces of the empire. Means after the king who was taking the authority of the district, the governors. So the Ashokan inscriptions mention 4 such governors posted at Takshila in North Province, Ujjain in West Province, Toshali in Eastern Province, and Suvarnagiri in Southern Province. The governors had 3 ministers and also had the power to appoint a few officials. They had 3 ministers and they had a power to appoint few officials also for some work. The smaller provinces were under the officials called the Pradeshika in the Ashokan edicts. So smaller officers are known as the Pradeshikas. Then we will see about the district administration and other officials. Provinces were subdivided into the districts for purpose of administration. Ashokan inscriptions refer to 3 classes of high officials, namely the Rajputas, Yuktas, and the Mahamantras. So the first one is the Rajuktas. Okay, Rajuktas were probably in charge of the district and corresponded to the district magistrate of the present day. Okay, so who was Rajukas? Rajukas was the in charge of the district and he was also corresponding with the district magistrate. They managed the state property and kept law and order in the districts. The Yukta was probably a district treasury officer who collected revenue and kept accounts. So what is the work of Yuktas? He collected revenues and kept the accounts. Then the Mahamantras, he is the third officer. The Mahamantras were the heads of special departments. Special departments, in that you will see Ashoka created a new class of Mahamantras, that is the Dhamma Mahamantras. Okay, they are the head of the Dhamma who promoted Dhamma or Dharma and looked after the general happiness and welfare of the people. They looked after the welfare of the people. Then we have the city administration. City administration was described by Arthashastra as he mentioned that the Nagraka was the main person of the city. He functioned as a city superintendent or the city magistrate with a number of officers assisting him. Okay, number of officers were assisting him. Nagrika was assisted by number of officers. The duties of the Nagrika according to the Kautilya were the provision of the welfare of the city dwellers, to maintain the public roads, public buildings, the inspection of the city walls and city towns, and taking precautions against the fire. So this is the work of the Nagrika. Megasthenes on the other hand gives a more elaborate system of administration. According to him, there entrusted with the city administration were divided into 6 boards of 5 persons each. Okay, the city administration was divided into 6 boards. 6 boards, each board was looked after by 5 persons. Each board dealt with specific functions such as the supervision of the trade and commerce, looking after the foreigners, and so on. The 6th board acted together in general matters like the maintenance of public buildings, fire protection, and care of wells and temples, etc. So these 6 boards take care of the city administration, and they used to protect the city from the fire protection and the care of the wells and temples. So please listen the video carefully. Try to write your own points when I'm speaking the sentences, and it will help you a lot when you will revise the chapter, when you will complete your assignments. And one more thing, please complete the assignment on the given date, and keep it ready for the correction. Whenever the school will open, I'll collect all the registers and I'll check it. So please concentrate on study and study well. Have a great day. Thank you.